That means that we arrive in peace and we progress. And when it's over, we leave.
Hey, what's up, TH? TPH?
It's a hot day. Try to remember.
I'm waiting for them to start marching. They've got the roads all blocked off now. We're going to be marching over to police headquarters, which is a 2-minute walk from where I'm standing.
I stand here and tell you that Eatontown Police Department and the city of Eatontown.
I am at the corner of Route 35 and Throckmorton Avenue. I'm looking north on Route 35. And if you can see where that dump truck is at, that's the old entrance to Fort Monmouth.
Yeah, bro. Protecting us all enforcement agencies went out of their way to ensure that we had a successful protest. They shut down whatever roads we needed shut down. They was whatever they could provide because they obviously believe and you hear now that's right. I also want to encourage you after today. Please don't stop today. Don't take your foot off the gas. And we got mad, and then we went back home, back to business as usual. It cannot happen. We will not stop until change happens. We will not stop I'm a firm believer, and I know both religious and non-religious group that is out here joining us today declaring that Black Lives Matter. But I still believe that prayer is powerful, and that prayer is important. And so I want you to open up today with a unity prayer. There is too much division, too much separation, too much segregation. Not even just amongst the races, but even amongst us and God. And we need to say it like this because I served 40 years on the force. Somebody, all the cops are not looking cops. They're really what the name is, cops. They really need police. Going into your school, it was a police officer that saved my life and keep me from doing it. So I'm not a person that I anymore. But it burns me the hell up when I see a police officer mistreating your son and your daughter. It makes me mad, and it makes those guys, those ladies over there in blue, their job even tougher. Because they have houses, they have homes, and they have husbands, and they have wives. So you say, God, amen, somebody. Let us pray. God, we thank you for this gathering. We thank you, God, for how you blessed us. We come together united as one, not as a white man or a black man, but as your people. And God, we pray now, God, that this day does not go unnoticed or underlooked. But God, we come today sounding the alarm that enough has been enough. And God, we come saying, God, protect us from seen and unseen danger. Protect the person that I'm standing next to. Cover their household and cover their children, God. Even bless the police officer that are standing around. Protect them from unseen danger, God. We need you to be a part of this mission. So, God, as we stand here today, we sound the alarm, not just for injustice for people, but just for people in general who's sick and tired of seeing bad news on Facebook and bad news on the news, God. God, we ask now that you will send peace among us, that we may stand together with my brother and my sister. Oh, God, we bind the spirit of racism. We bind the spirit of hate. And we come standing on the promises of love, that you will continue to show us how we ought to love one another. For you said in your word that we ought to love for one another. And so, God, we ask now in the name of Jesus, and everyone under the sound of my voice, God, we ask that you increase everything that they're standing in the need of. In Jesus' name, I dare you to break social justice for me and high five your neighbor and say, I am the change. Come on, high five your neighbor and say, I am the change. I am the change. That was the wrong neighbor. Look at the neighbor behind you and say, neighbor, I am the change. When we organize, I thought to myself, there are a lot of people who are familiar with what happened with our brother George Floyd. There are a lot of people who are familiar with what happened with Breonna Taylor. But I want you to know that we've been fighting this fight long before George Floyd. We've been fighting this fight long before Breonna Taylor. And what we wanted to do was start this evening properly with a memorial or remembrance to those. This is just a short selection of the innumerable amount of people that have died at the hands of the very people who were supposed to be protecting them. Kyle, where are you at, Kyle? There you are. So what I want to do right now, this may be educational for some, but I want you to understand a small glimpse as to why we're so fed up, how long this has been going on. You might hear some stories right now that you never even knew existed. I hope it touches your heart. I hope it encourages you even more that enough is enough. How would you start? In August 1955, he was 14 years old, young black king. He was accused of offending a white woman in a grocery store. He was brutally beaten and lynched, and his killers were acquitted in a court of law. You will never forget. We will never forget. Say his name, Emmett Till. Emmett Till. Say his name. Emmett Till. Say his name. Emmett Till. In February 2012, he was a 17-year-old young black king who was walking back home from the convenience store when George Zimmerman decided he looked suspicious. He was chased and then finally shot in the chest. He was murdered and acquitted of all charges. We will never forget. Say his name, Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin. Say his name. Trayvon Martin. Say his name. Trayvon Martin. In April 2014, he was sleeping on a bench in the park. He had a history of mental illness, and he had already been checked on by a pair of officers who determined he was doing nothing wrong. However, a third officer approached him and confronted him. The confrontation ended with the officer shooting him 14 times, killing him. No charges were brought against the officer. We will never forget. Say his name, Dontre Hamilton. Dontre Hamilton. Say his name. Dontre Hamilton. Say his name. Dontre Hamilton. In July 2014, he was accused of selling single cigarettes at a gas station. While arresting him, officers used an illegal chokehold. He could be heard saying, "I can't breathe." He would die as a result of that chokehold. His death was ruled a homicide, but the officer involved was never charged. We will never forget. Say his name, Eric Gardner. Say his name, Eric Gardner. Say his name, Eric Gardner. In 2014, he was a 22-year-old young black king. He was shopping in a Walmart. He was walking around the store, talking on the phone while carrying a BB gun he intended to purchase, when someone called the police. Store security video shows him being shot and killed. The police within moments of them arriving on the scene. No charges were filed against the police that killed him. We will never forget. Say his name, John Crawford III. John Crawford III. Say his name, John Crawford III. Say his name, John Crawford III. In October 2014, he was a 17-year-old young black king who was shot and killed by police who were responding to a call that he was walking erratically in the street. No charges were filed from internal police investigation. However, when a court pulled the video gas can footage released, it was found that the police shot him as he was walking away. We will never forget. Say his name, Laquan McDonald. Laquan McDonald. Say his name. Laquan McDonald. Say his name. Laquan McDonald. Thank you. Thank you. In November of 2014, he was a year-old.
Can I get a picture of that sign?
Playing in the park with a toy gun.
Thank you.
The police were called, stating someone was pointing a gun at people, and later included that it's probably fake. Within seconds of arriving on the scene, police shot and killed him. No charges were filed against the officer that took his life. But we will never forget. Say his name, Tamir Rice. Say his name. Say his name. Say his name. Tamir Rice. In April of 2015, he was arrested and charged with possessing a knife. He mysteriously died in police custody due to multiple injuries, including serious trauma to his spinal cord. None of the officers involved in his arrest were found guilty of any of their charges. But we will never forget. Say his name, Freddie Gray. Freddie Gray. Say his name. Freddie Gray. Say his name. Freddie Gray. Say his name. Freddie Gray. In July 2015, she was pulled over for a traffic stop. She was arrested and charged with assaulting an officer. The officer was later found to have lied about the circumstances of her arrest. 3 days after her arrest, she was found dead in her jail cell. No law enforcement was charged in her death, but we will never forget. Say her name, Sandra Bland. 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 In July 2016, he was pulled over during a traffic stop. He advised the officer that he had a legally registered in the car. While reaching for his ID, he was shot 5 times, killing him in front of his 4-year-old daughter. Although the killing was caught on camera, the officer was acquitted of all charges. But we will never forget. Say his name, Philando Castile. Philando Castile. Say his name. Philando Castile. Say went viral. But we will never forget. Say his name, Ahmaud Arbery. Say his name. Say his name. In March of 2020, she and her significant other, Kenneth Walker, were sleeping in their beds when they believed their home was being broken into. Walker grabbed his legally registered firearm to protect them from the intruders. Her boyfriend fired, and the intruders fired back, shooting 20 rounds and hitting her 8 times, killing her. It was later found that the intruders were actually plainclothes officers acting on a no-knock warrant without identifying themselves as police. But we will never forget. Say her name, Breonna Taylor. 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 In May of this year, police were called on him under the suspicion of using a fake $20 bill. We watched on cell phone and security camera footage as police officers handcuffed him, restrained him on his stomach, and slowly and inhumanely suffocate him to death. We watched in horror as one police officer held him by the legs, another placed his weight on his back, and a third placed a knee on his neck, pressing down for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. We watched the life slowly drain out of a human being. Listen to him beg for his life and call for his mom, while a fourth officer just stood by, ignoring his cries and the pleas of onlookers. We heard his terrifying realization of what was happening to him when he cried out, "They're going to kill me." We lost our breath as we heard him utter his last words. "I can't breathe." His tragic, senseless, and inhumane death has sparked, murder has sparked a worldwide demand for justice, equality, and accountability, especially in the law enforcement and criminal justice system. We will never forget. Say his name. George Floyd. 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 Not only are there these names and countless others, but I don't even want to forget. I don't want to forget the unnamed. The ones whose stories were never told. The ones who suffered and it never made the news. The ones who were brutalized and no one was there to videotape. The ones who were killed and the police were able to come up with whatever story suited them in order to justify their murder. The unnamed, the unknown, and the unheard, we will never forget. Say, we will never forget. Many people watched his funeral on live TV or streamed over the internet. But if there's one thing that has stood out the most in the cruelty and in the humanity and how our brother was treated, is that someone could apply pressure, a choking maneuver, to another human being's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. I want to ask you to connect with that. I want to ask you to understand just how long of a time that is. Just how evil you have to be to stay on someone for that long. Just how cruel your heart has to be. Apply that kind of pressure to a human being for that long. So here's what we're going to do. Whether you want to take a knee, which I probably wouldn't recommend because of how long it's going to be, I want us to take a moment. Actually, I want us to take 8 minutes and 6 seconds to stand or sit or kneel in honor and in remembrance of the cruelty and the inhumane treatment of George Floyd. your neck for that long. For that long. Readjusting themselves. Getting themselves comfortable again. So that they can maintain pressure on your neck. We're tired. We're done. Enough is enough. Is Councilwoman here? Come on up. We're going to have a few words from one of the councilwomen here at the city.
Can you guys hear me? All right. I didn't have time to memorize my speech. You never smart enough. But you guys will have to bear with me. So as you said, my name is Councilwoman Jasmine Story. First and foremost, I want to thank Kyle, Alicia, Tion, and Corinne for having the courage and willingness to take the initiative and organize this. To tell you guys a little bit about myself, I grew up on the streets of Newark in poverty. For a long time, I didn't share that with people because of the inferences that they might draw about me. Today, I'm a college-educated woman. I have a law degree. I own my own practice. I'm a homeowner. I'm married. My husband is a captain in the Army. He's also a surgeon. There are many things about me that probably go against every stereotype that you have.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I'm still a black woman.
Woo! Yeah.
And to exist in these spaces that I occupy often means that I'm required to play this game where I have to make white people comfortable.
Yes. Come on.
I'm forced to minimize my blackness on a daily basis.
Every day.
That's a problem.
It is a problem.
When I was 15, I came across a quote that really resonated with me. And it has ever since. This is it. It says, it's better to declare the truth and be rejected than to withhold it just to be accepted.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
For those of you that missed that, I'm going to say it again. It's better to declare the truth and be rejected than to withhold it just to be accepted. I'm here to tell my truth and to tell you guys what Black Lives Matter means in our town. And I'm speaking directly to my fellow council members, legislators, and every one of you here today in positions of power. This one is on you. Many of you have failed to value Black lives in your work before today.
Yes.
You have not supported policies aimed at helping Black and brown communities. You have not made your halls of power a safe place for people of color to openly and honestly speak about issues that impact them.
Yes.
These are the things we're talking about when we say Black Lives Matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
To the legislators and political officials standing in solidarity with us, taking a knee, issuing statements, etc. Others may not be willing to say it, but I'll say it.
Say it.
It's not enough.
It's not enough.
It's not enough. love everyone would be truthful, but also hurtful and cruel in the moment. If a coworker comes to me upset and says, "My father just died," a response is everyone's parent dies is truthful, but also hurtful and cruel in the moment. So when a friend speaks up in a time of obvious pain and hurt and says Black Lives Matter, a response of all lives matter is truthful, but it's hurtful and cruel in the moment. Black lives matter. So for those of you who are truly committed to standing with our community, it's not enough to only exercise allies politically convenient or it just looks good. And so I leave you with this challenge. I challenge you to continue to stand in solidarity and speak up during the moments when you feel least comfortable. Least comfortable. Speak up in the workplace. Speak up in restaurants with your friends. Speak up at dinner tables with family. In conversations with students, classmates, teachers. In conversations with colleagues. In conversations with your parents and grandparents. Because as Dr. King said, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends.
Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter! And I'm gonna be honest, if I hear one more person say to me, "All lives matter," Black lives matter, I might put my non-violent stance aside. I appreciate every last one of you coming out. We're going to march to the police station in just a little bit, whether you guys do that or not. We're actually taking to right up 35, going to take a right down Broad Street. We're going to march right to the police station. Before we do that, I realize, and I'm grateful for all of you that are standing out here in solidarity with us during this movement. It means a lot. It means a lot. I've come to realize, though, even as I did my own research, that what I see is we know that there's a problem. But you can't solve a problem if you don't know how the problem became a problem. A lot of people are dealing with what they see and not the source of the issue underneath. So if you don't understand how the problem became a problem, you won't know how to solve the problem. So let's talk just a little bit on how we got here in the first place. Many of you may know, because in our very limited Black history classes in school, they make sure you are told that we were brought over against our will on slave ships. They never seem to let that part out of Black history. But when we got here, anytime we tried to run away, there were white men that were empowered to go find us. These slave patrols were the definition of police. Their job was to go out and find and bring back the runaway. Yeah, if they came back alive. As time went on, heard about the Emancipation Proclamation. You heard about the 13th Amendment, which supposedly freed the slaves. I came here to tell you that slavery is still States of America. If you read the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, you will find that the amendment states that slavery shall not be legal except as a punishment for a crime whereby you have been found guilty. Let me say that again. The 13th Amendment states that slavery in these United States shall be illegal except as a punishment for a crime whereby you have been found guilty. So when the slaves were so-called freed, the law required that in order for slavery to continue, black people have to be thrown in jail. The hand that is responsible for putting black people in jail is always the police. So when blacks were now relegated to jail, we had to be seen as criminals. Enter what we call the Black Code. The Black Codes were a list of laws written in this country to criminalize being black. Being black while walking down the street, crime. Being black and you cross the street, crime. Being black and you drank from the water fountain, crime. Being black and did any number of things that we could do all day, every day. If you were black, it was a crime. So we could throw you in jail, which is where slavery moved to. Yes. When the Black Code was declared unconstitutional, we moved into the era of Jim Crow. The Jim Crow laws simply replaced the Black Code. It made it illegal to do a number of things just because you were black. So as black people, who did we fear more than anyone else? The police. Because when they said a black code was being violated, when they said a Jim Crow law was being violated, when they said just he looks funny and he's got dark skin, who did they call?
The police.
Who was our problem with?
The police.
Who beat us?
The police.
Who arrested us?
The police.
Who threw us in jail?
The police.
Even when we weren't guilty.
Yeah.
Now, in order to make sure that these prisons remain full, it wasn't just the police, it was the attorneys, it was the judges, it was the entire criminal system that was turned against black people to make sure black people wound up in prison. In case you're wondering about the long, drawn-out history between blacks and the police. And then, when we tried to peacefully march for our rights during the civil rights movement, who attacked us?
The police.
Who sicked their dogs on us?
The police.
Who used the fire hoses on us?
The police.
Who arrested us for no reason?
The police.
So when a black man tells you that he's got a problem with police,
Now you
you
understand.
need to understand why he feels that way. It's not because we're criminals. It's because the society has spent hundreds of years making sure that the community sees a black man and sees a criminal,
Yes.
so that they can throw us in jail. And while I have your attention, to my young black kids that are out here in the audience, can I ask you please to stop letting them have what they want?
Yes.
When you decide to be criminal, when you decide to fight each other, hurt each other, kill each other, you are not just hurting yourself, you're giving every racist white person exactly what they want. You're
Thank you. Thank you.
To everybody who says that it's been a long time, black people need to start getting over it. That was then, and this is now.
They say it to me almost all the time.
Can I tell you something?
I get this all the time.
Let me tell you two things. First of all, Ahmaud Arbery was killed this year. Breonna Taylor was killed this year. George Floyd was killed this year. And these are just the names you and I happen to know about. There are many, many more that have been killed this year. So before you tell me that was then, and this is now, open up your eyes. Turn on the TV. Look at a news flash. It's not over. It's still happening. It's still happening. I can't get quiet. It's still happening. And lastly, let me say this. Yes, the black community has been traumatized. Yes, we've been traumatized because we've been brutalized. We've been beaten, whipped. The white community in the past has done everything they could to make sure that this country would not be for us, even though we built it. So yes, we've been traumatized. And yes, there's a conversation that we need to have as a community. Yes, there's some healing that we need to do as a community. But can I tell you something? We can't even talk about healing until we feel safe. How do you tell me that I need to work on my healing when I'm still in the place that hurt me? When I'm still in the circumstance where I can't do anything? How can I heal? I don't feel safe yet. How can I heal? I can't heal yet. I'm not safe yet. You provide me an environment where I can feel safe. And that's an environment where I can begin to heal. Black Lives Matter. 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 If you have any of your belongings, I want you to go ahead and grab it. Any of your signs, I want you to go ahead and grab it. In time, we make our way over to the police.
Hello, officer.
Enough is enough! amazing. Listen to yourself. Make sure you let everybody know to register to vote. If you are 17 and up and you have not registered to vote, get down here and register to vote. A lot of times I go to rallies. I've been going to a lot of protests. I know a lot of you have too. Some of you have gone to multiple rallies, multiple protests. We definitely appreciate your support. It's going to take everybody's voice in order to make this change. But inevitably, I get the same question. Now that we protested, now that we rallied, what do we do now? Let me take it a step further. I don't just want you to vote. And I don't just want you, there's one thing to vote. Because everybody is going to tell you who you should vote for.
Yes.
So just saying vote, not enough. And I could tell you to be an educated voter. An educated voter is someone who took the time to study the candidates.
Yes.
See what they're about. See what they're talking about. And decide which one you want to choose. But I want to encourage you to do more than be an educated voter. I want you to be an empowered voter.
Yes.
I want you to understand that your vote is what determines what happens.
Yes.
Understand the power of your vote.
Yes.
You don't have to ask them what are they going to do for you. You're the one with the vote.
Yes.
You tell them what they better do for you.
Yes.
You are the one with the vote. You are the one with the power. You are the one, when you come together, get to make the collective decisions. Stop letting them bargain at the table.
Yes.
Stop feeling like you got to choose the lesser of multiple evils.
Yes.
They are coming for your vote. Your vote is the one with the power.
Yes.
Don't just be an educated voter. Be an empowered voter. It's time we tell these candidates exactly what we want. And then we pick the candidate that gives us what we want.
Show up at your town halls.
So make sure that you're registered to vote. Make sure that your voice is heard. And I'm going to tell you the most important thing you can ever do. You need to connect with a coordinated organization. When we come together like we have in these rallies, when we come together like we have in these marches, that is how change happens.
Yes.
But we need to come together in order to push these changes forward. If you're coming to a rally but you're not part of something, then you made a lot of noise, but there won't be any change.
Yes.
If you're coming to an organization or an organized group protest and you're screaming and hollering, you made a lot of signs. The signs look good. I feel proud to be a black man today looking at these signs.
Yes.
But if you made some awesome signs, and I do appreciate them, if you made the sign, but you ain't joined an organization for change, then you came out and made a lot of noise, but you didn't organize to make nothing happen. So take it a step further.
Yes. Get involved.
The problem with our political system today is that we have become lazy voters.
Yes. Yes.
We vote and just expect them to handle it.
Yes.
We don't check on them. We don't hold them accountable. We don't make sure they're doing what they promised us they were going to do in the middle of the election when they prostituted you for your vote. We don't do any of that. No. It's time that we take back the power of this political system. Don't just vote. Demand change. Many of us standing here, myself included, has not made it a point to go to your city council meetings. Many of us standing here, myself included, did not make sure you knew all of your local elected officials.
Yes.
And it is that kind of attitude that has allowed the will of the people ignored for so long. But it's time for us to be educated and empowered and take this political system by You'll notice when we got here that there was a lectern here at the police station. There's a reason for that. The reason for that is because I've noticed that in many protests and rallies, as hurt as we are, as angry as we are, as frustrated as we are, some people just want to come and yell at somebody.
Yeah. Yes.
But change does not happen by one person yelling at another.
No.
Change only happens when both people have their mouths and their ears open.
Yes.
And I don't know about you. I didn't just come to yell. I didn't just come to holler. I came to demand change.
Yes.
When I brought this to the Eatontown Police Department and to the city of Eatontown, I want you to know that the city of Eatontown told me that in this police department and in this city, no matter what you thought, no matter what you heard, they are dedicated and devoted to fighting police brutality and institutional racism in this police precinct. I said that sounds nice.
Does sound nice.
That sounds real
The
nice.
reality of it, they have helped.
I like the way that sounds. But I want you to take it a step further.
You don't talk that talk.
And I said, here's what I want you to do. I don't just want to tell the people what you see. I want you to stand in front of your own people.
Yes.
I want you to tell them that you will fight police brutality.
Yes.
That you will fight institutional racism.
And then we will hold you accountable.
We will do that so that we can hold you accountable for your own words. So today, and just so you know, the police told me they'll take it one step further. They said not only will we declare from our own mouths that we stand against police brutality, not only will we say from our own mouths that we stand against institutional racism, but after the speeches are done, we will stick around so the people can tell us what their experience has
Listen
been.
to us. Yes.
We will stick around so that the people can talk to us, and we are here to listen. So the Eatontown Police Department has taken it one step further. And then after the speeches are done, come talk to us. After we're done making our declarations, come talk to us. They want to hear your stories. They want to hear what happened to you.
Got stories.
They want to hear what you experienced. They want to see it with their own eyes, and they can only see it if you're willing to show it to them.
Yes.
Black Lives Matter.
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 So with that being said, I'm going to ask you to be nice and civil. First, we're going to hear from the mayor of the city of Eatontown. He has a few words he wants to share with us. After that, we're going to hear from the chief of police here at Eatontown PD. In that order.
Thank you very much, everybody. Pretty sure that no matter what I write, I'm pretty sure no matter what everybody said today, nothing would be more impactful than the 8 minutes and 46 seconds that everybody sat silent.
Louder, please.
Does it go up?
Hey everybody, my name is Anthony Tallarico. I'm the mayor here in the borough of Eatontown. I'd like to welcome you to my hometown. It's impressive to see such a large crowd, and I'd like to thank Kyle, Corinne, Alicia, and Tian for planning this event. Thank you for the enormous amount of time that it took to coordinate all the logistics with our police department to ensure a peaceful protest, and equally important, beginning to lay the framework for dialogue. Because what happens today is only part of it. What happens tomorrow is the second half. I believe that a peaceful demonstration is just one piece of the pie. The dialogue that comes along with it is also very important. Today we just met in Wampum Park. This is the park where the borough pays tribute to the men and women of the armed services who fought, some died for freedom. They fought for our freedom to maintain a way of life that so many hold dear. We value our safety and our right to live in peace. And at the same time, I'm not ignorant. I know full well that freedoms are not enjoyed by everybody. They're enjoyed by some. At that same location in 1886, a man named Samuel Johnson, you may know him as Mingo Jack, was lynched. He was accused of a horrific crime, of raping a white woman. We will never know if he was innocent or guilty, but what we do know is that he was never given a trial.
Yes.
What we do know is that on that day, in Eatontown, he was taken from his jail cell by an angry mob, beaten, and lynched. He was hanged because he was black. Anyone accused of the crime, if I was accused of that crime, I would have been punished, but after a trial.
Yes.
He never received that trial. He didn't get the trial because he was black. There's no other reason. In 2012, I was proud to be a part of the Mingo Jack Remembrance Group, which asked to put a simple, unassuming marker down by the water. They chose the memorial and the location. They created a group that not only placed the marker, but more importantly, they educated the community about the horrible crime that took place there, the crime of no trial. I'm glad they did because many of us lifers never knew it existed. In dedicating that marker, I reminded the crowd in 2012 that it's important to remember that this happens in Eatontown, not down south, not somewhere else, but in Eatontown where we live. If we forget our past, we will lose the valuable lessons it brings. On that day, Mayor Tarantolo said beautiful words. He said we should never forget that a person's civil rights were violated there. Hopefully this marker will be a beacon to civil rights, not only in Eatontown, or New Jersey, or in our country, but the world. So it's fitting that you assemble at that park today, which promotes brave soldiers who fought for freedom, because the marker also reminds us how far we have to come to achieve those values for all members of our society. Here in the borough of Eatontown, a large and visible portion of our workforce is our police department. These men and women put their lives on the line for us each and every day, for the residents, the business owners, and travelers. During my time on council, I have worked with 2 police chiefs, 3 captains, as well as countless staff and patrol officers. And I'm proud of the Eatontown Police Department, the efforts the men and women of law enforcement take to risk their lives for our community. I support the connections they've made with our community. I am aware, however, that there are tensions in police and community relations around the country. And among other things, it is a senseless act of violence, such as the murder of George Floyd, the murder, that scar and cloud the work of the majority of law enforcement who conduct themselves as professionals.
Say his name!
George Floyd!
Say his name!
George Floyd!
Say his name!
George Floyd!
It is events like this that cast a cloud over the profession and make some people rightfully suspect police in general. Breakdowns in communication and mistrust are horrible for the community and, as you know, potentially deadly. I am confident in the record of the Eatontown Police Department, and with the leadership that we have, I am committed that this will not happen on our watch.
Speak on the brutality.
You are here to voice your concerns. You didn't just come here to listen to the mayor speak about racism. You are here to express your anger and for us to listen. We are here to listen, and I am happy to have this dialogue. Not just today, but more importantly, tomorrow. As mayor, my door is always open. I would like to introduce you to Police Chief William Lucia. He will share with you some of the steps the Eatontown Police Department is taking to foster and grow the dialogue between the police and various community groups. We are committed to this in the borough, and we look forward to a constructive dialogue. Remember, it's not what happened today, it's what we do with it tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Police Chief Lucia.
Sir?
I don't need to show you how to work it, do I?
Let's see. Good evening. My name is Bill Lucia, and I am the Chief of Police of the Eatontown Police Department. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for providing me the opportunity to speak on behalf of my community and my police department.
Can y'all hear in the back?
And when I say that, I mean both my police department and my community. I'm not speaking for everybody else. Let me begin by stating that the events that have occurred recently, specifically the murder of George Floyd, as well as other senseless acts of hate that we have seen take place in the past, are all inexcusable and deplorable. As police officers, it is particularly upsetting to see another police officer wearing a uniform go against the very oath we take to protect and serve our community. Although I believe that these actions and individuals are not a representation of the overwhelming majority of men and women who become police officers, I want to ensure you that we, and when I say we, I mean I am referring to each and every member of the Eatontown Police Department, stand united with all of you against police brutality and racism.
Black Lives Matter!
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 I have been a police officer for over 25 years, and before me, my father was an officer and the chief of the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office. I have grown up around the uniform and spent most of my life in one. I've spent many years on patrol and have personally responded to thousands of calls to protect this community and its citizens, one of which nearly cost me my life. I have seen death, murder, and pain, and still arrive to work every day, ready to serve my community. But more importantly, in this time, I have also seen change. I have seen police departments throughout the state of New Jersey adopt more accountability practices and increase community outreach and programming. In my time with the Eatontown Police Department, it has always been a common practice to treat each member of the community we serve as equals. As chief of police, I continue to hold my department to a higher standard, and I have sought to understand the needs, emotions, and fears of my community through channels of communication with prominent members of all demographics. I am very proud to say that we get very few internal affairs complaints of any kind against our officers. But when we do, when we receive a complaint, we take them seriously, and we always investigate them thoroughly and impartially. I am sure by now you have noticed I have not specifically addressed the Black community, only the community and our community. Please do not misconstrue this as a lack of caring or indifference to your cause, but rather a reassurance of how I view my job. I absolutely understand the concerns and injustices, particular to certain demographics, more specifically, the Black members of the community, and in no way seek to minimize or discredit them. Subsequently, I believe that as a police officer, it is imperative that if we want to do our jobs effectively, we treat everyone as equals and with the same amount of respect. I will promise you this: no member of the Eatontown Police Department will ever be permitted to police or act in a way that is unjust or discriminatory to any member of this community, or any community for that matter.
Especially Black people.
I will continue to hold our men and women to the highest standards to ensure that all feel safe in this town. Excessive force of any kind will never be overlooked, and more importantly, will never be tolerated. And just to get off the speech a little bit, when we met with the organizers, we had a 2.5, what I thought was going to be a 45-minute conversation. Ended up being a 2.5-hour talk out here and just exchanging ideas. And some of the things that I learned in a very short period of time, and I'm going to demonstrate just so everybody knows. Cops stand like this an awful lot. I'm sure everybody's going to start shaking their heads in the audience, right? I did it my entire career. Whether I was sitting in the back room, whether I was in a briefing, whether I was out on the street.
Y'all need to change that.
It's just a natural thing to do. We talked about that, and we realized that these are the things that conversations and talks will help us change. There was other things that we learned from each other in a 2.5-hour conversation. So I can't imagine if we all dedicate the right amount of time and effort that we can't make huge changes. Just to talk about some of that. Over the next few weeks, we'll be working with leaders within the Black community to increase communication and understanding, as it is essential that we are able to come together and discuss concerns in an objective and non-judgmental environment. This will enable us to grow as a community. Based on some of the conversations that have taken place already, we recognize the need for more specific training
on how body language and posture,
Yes.
as well as facial expression,
Yes.
can very well set the tone for an interaction with the police.
Racial profiling.
All day.
I will personally be providing training going forward. These are just some of the things that we can learn from each other through dialogue and open and honest conversations. We will also continue to plan events for our community to come together with officers. We already have some in place, but are exploring additional opportunities such as tabletop exercises with leaders and informal community gatherings to answer questions, address any concerns, and to continue to build the trust between the Black community and the police department.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, in addition to all of this, we recognize that state and local elections are essential for enacting change. I will be researching partners such as Turbo Vote and Rock the Vote to set up voter registration drives
Yes.
so that greater number of our community will register and exercise their right to vote. Remember, officers will only have to move the law, but by voting, you can help make the necessary changes to the laws or policies that may be inherently unjust or discriminatory. A wise woman once told me, if you're given the power to execute change and you don't use that power, did you really deserve it in the first place?
Yes. Yes.
I am committed to honoring the promises and statements that I have made here today, but I do have one request of all of you. Please do not allow the actions of a bad police officer dictate your entire view on all police officers, and in return as police officers, we will never allow the actions of any one person change or dictate how we treat any member of our community.
Thank you.
Keep in mind that these police officers that you see around here today, their mothers, their fathers, their sons and daughters, neighbors and friends,
They're
and
racist
just may
too.
be the person who saved the
Don't
life
forget
of you or your loved ones, even at the cost of their own. We want to return home safely at the end of the day, just as all of you do. So, do me this favor. If you see an officer, smile and say hello. You may
They should do that to
be
us.
surprised at the result.
They should be doing that to us.
He's talking about they should do that to us.
Let's all be part of the change together.
Bullshit, man.
Thank you for inviting me to speak today. Before I conclude, I would like to reiterate to all of you that we stand united against police brutality and with the Black members of our community and any member of our community. Thank you.
It's a start. It's a start.
You got a rough crowd, Chief. You got a rough crowd.
Go down the street. They put the dogs down.
Let me ask you a question.
I ain't getting no.
We got to be out here for change. Let me ask you something, and I want him to see this. How many of you have already gotten to the point where you don't even bother to file a complaint against a police officer because you don't think it's going to go
Nothing's gonna be done.
That's the fucking thing.
Nothing's gonna be
They
done.
do a fucking thing.
This is for you to see. There are some people that have complaints, but have never filed the complaint because they never believe that the complaint will going to be followed up on.
You have people
There's a
scared to
reason
drive
why.
through Eatontown.
There's a
They're scared to
reason
drive
why.
through here.
Thank you. There's a reason why we have not only these officers. If you look over to that side over there, you'll see more officers lined up. One of the things that we want to do is we want to have an actual dialogue with the chief right here. If you've had an issue with an officer in this town, the chief is right here.
Thank you.
And he's here on purpose. He came out here because he wants his actions to speak louder than his words. Now let me do something real quick, and I'm not sure how this is going to go because it's real unscripted. But I want to ask my brother right there if you could come over here with me real quick. My brother.
He's here, though.
My brother, I appreciate you. Thank you, man.
You're allowed to be here.
All right. I wanted to ask my brother to come here because my brother is literally representative of the hurt, the pain, and the absolute distrust
Yes.
that has been built up after hundreds of years of putting us under your feet. And it is unbelievably difficult to believe anything from the mouth of anyone that looks like the people that have been oppressing us for hundreds of years.
Yes.
Can I get an amen? But I want to ask you a question. As a brother, if in some weird reality, if the assumption could be made that this guy over here was actually willing to hear, would you be willing to talk? That's all we ever
Yes.
want, right?
Yes.
That's all we ever want.
Yes.
that's why we're here. We're here because the only way change is ever going to happen is if some people are willing to talk, and while I'm talking, you're willing to listen. We have some complaints. We got some issues. Some of us have been mistreated. Some have been mistreated in this very town. Did I hear that?
Yep.
In this very town?
Yep.
And so the chief of police is here, and he said, come talk to me. The captain, where's Captain at? Captain, wave your hand, Cap. You're not hiding today. Come on over here. We're not saying that. We can't hide inside. She's the captain. Find these individuals in position of authority. Tell them your stories. Don't be silent anymore. The time of being silent is over. The time of not being heard is over. The time of feeling like nothing is going to be done about it is over. No more suffering and horror. No more keeping your mouth shut. No more going nothing. Enough is enough. So as we bring this to a close, what I want to invite every last one of you to do is I want you to take the time, talk to the chief, talk to the captain, tell them about your experiences. How many parents we got out here? You ever had a kid that was up to something and you didn't know your kid was up to that? They tried to tell you what your kid was doing and you was like, not my kid.
Yes.
And then you found out later that's just what they were up to? Can I introduce you to the mama and the daddy of the Eatontown Police Department? If their kids was up to something, let them know. Let them know what you experienced. Let them know what you went through. Because it's through these conversations that we will foster change. Black Lives Matter. 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 I want to thank every last one of you for coming out. Don't feel like you got to rush to go home. Eatontown Police Department and the city of Eatontown said we will not impose a curfew.
Yes.
Because if you're honest about it, it's the so-called curfew enforcement that has led to most of the interactions at these protesting rallies. They are not enforcing any kind of curfew. So you have all the time in the world to hang out with each other, hang out with the police officers. These officers over here, they're not standing over there because they're trying to look tough. They have volunteered to stand over there so you can interact with them and they can interact with you. They're trying to police a community. They doggone need to know their community.
Yes, sir.
So while you're here, you can take a moment, interact with the officers. If there's anything that has happened to you, you can interact with the police chief, the captain over here, and let them know your stories because we will not be silent anymore.
No, we will not.
Thank every last one of you for coming out, making this a peaceful, successful rally and protest for change against police brutality. That's the overall racism. We're doing it, and we're doing it together. Black Lives Matter. 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 Now you can tell them how they violated your rights. Thank you so much for coming out. Just as you came peacefully, just as you protested peacefully, if you are leaving, we ask that you leave peacefully. Thank you again for coming out. There is water on the garbage cans of either side of the podium. There's water if you guys are thirsty. Reach in and grab yourselves a water on either side in the garbage can.
Chief, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
How much money has your town paid out in lawsuit settlements?
Geez, I don't know off the top of my head, but we don't have a whole lot of lawsuits at all. We don't have a whole lot of lawsuits at all.
Okay.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't tally up. I've been chief for 2.5 years. I don't think we paid out anything since I've been chief. I could probably tell you that.
Okay, Chief, I will fact check that.
You can do it. You can do it, and if I'm wrong, I'll tell you I'm wrong.
All right, I'm John Van Dyke. We're New
Hey,
Jersey,
John, all right, very
New
nice to meet
Jersey Exposed YouTube channel.
Yeah. I've heard of it. Thank you.
I've grown up in this area. I know one of your officers, Matt Bailey.
Yeah, you know, Matt.
I worked with him at the funeral home.
So my name's Bill. Always, anytime you ever did any
Okay,
questions,
thank you, Bill.
What's that?
Wow, there you go. Thank you.
I'll be here for Okay, wait, did you let the stage here? Oh, That's an easy one. That's it. That is a done deal. Yeah, I know. I agree. I don't have it until I don't have I don't like that. I can see that website where somebody put like X, Y, and Z, right? True. I agree.
Sir, I want to compliment you on your wearing apparel there. I couldn't help but I said, this guy looks sharp. You got those nice sneakers on. I hope we don't get them dirty.
No, that's all right. I'll keep it clean. I know I'm clean over there.
I only misses at the golf club. You
Yeah, I thought about that too.
you looking sharp today.
Thank you, sir.
I have to retake it and I'll probably get back.
All right, which one's the bad cop?
I'll go right here.
Which one's the bad one?
No bad one.
No bad ones?
Not here. I don't think so.
Any of you ever lied on a report?
Yeah.
No, that's a crime. It's a great way to lose your job.
All right, so I'm gonna do the question. What's your name and badge number, sir?
Well, my name is Matthew Williams. So you can see here.
Okay.
My badge number is 510.
Oh, and you're brass too. You're a sergeant. Look at you. Close to retirement?
Past retirement.
What are you gonna do? 30?
Probably.
And then what? A class 3 after that?
Nah.
I'm back and working in another
I'm an
town.
old cop. I've been here a long time.
You're back in the Dale Bennett era and all that, huh?
Dale was one of my sergeants way back in the
Yeah,
day.
you had a bad reputation.
It was a lot different when I started.
Yeah,
That's why I enjoy this today. It's a lot different.
Yeah, I knew a few officers back there. I didn't speak highly of them, but now I don't see anything bad. But then again, I'm not young anymore, so you tend to behave yourself when you get older. And
It's true.
so, what's your name, sir?
Kevin Lickmack, 110 is my dad.
And how long you been an officer?
Here for 8 years.
8 years. All right. Well, things will get better.
Only hope, every day.
Okay, you be a corporal someday. What do we have here?
Officer Michael Sullivan, badge number 109.
All right, how long you been on the job?
About 11 years now.
11 years. You're going to retire here, I bet, right? Oh, I know this guy right here.
What's up?
I know this guy really well. This guy, he's everything I'm not. He was handsome. The girls loved this guy. He'd go up to the busiest window and they would stop everything they're doing to wait on him. And I'll never forget, we came here to the health department. That girl jumped out of the seat to come wait on him. I know Matt and I worked at John Day.
He's lying.
We worked at John Day Funeral Home, and he took me out on our first removal. I almost passed out on that deal. I don't know if you remember that, but yeah, Matt taught me everything there. And 10
times.
Many years later, I'm still in the business. And
Are you still up?
yes, don't say the name. We're live, Stephen. I don't want nuts call me.
That's good.
Now, you've been on what, 10 years on this now?
14 years.
14, holy shit.
Flies by.
Yeah, it does, because I remember you were going to the academy, and you were coming to work tired.
Working during the day at the funeral home and coming here.
Yeah. And one of his big things that he wanted to do was hold every organ in his hand. I'll never forget this. He came to me one day and he says, what was it, the heart or something? He came and goes, I finally held every organ. I don't know what it was, a heart or something. That was like, I got news for you.
He would have weird calls like that.
I've seen autopsy and things, but the only organ I've seen so far was a brain. I haven't seen any in
Cool
turn.
looking though, right?
What's that?
It was pretty cool looking. Was that
Well,
John Day or somewhere else?
No, I had to take a guy donate his brain there, so I went down to Pennsylvania Hospital and I sat in there while they sawed his head open and pulled it out, and I thought that was pretty bizarre, but
Yeah, it is.
and then they, the behind the scenes stuff is pretty nasty, In the funeral business, we see a lot of unpleasantries, so I relate to a lot of what officers go through because you see it while it's going down. I get it after it's all done, and it's always terrible when we see kids and things like that. But Matt's a good guy. I can test this because I know him before he was a cop, and he's married. You're still married now.
Yeah, married.
You had 2 kids or one?
Bunch of kids, yeah.
You living in Eatontown?
No, I moved.
Okay.
Yeah, I was here for like 10 years.
So when you split, you got to keep the house?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, good for you.
For a sum of money, but
Let me get my picture in here with Matt. Because Matt is a good guy. Let me turn this around. This is Matt Bailey. I've known him for many years. Before he was an officer, look at him. He looks like $1 million next to my face. Look at this guy. Oh, my God. All right, guys.
thank you.
Thanks a lot. All right, guys, I'm all done with this. This is a pretty good rally. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, people. Sean Van Dyke, New Jersey Exposed.